to another installment of British Literature 1660-1910. In this installment of our survey, we'll be talking about the political writings of the 17th century, particularly work by John Milton, Robert Filmer, Thomas Hobbes, and John Locke. We'll be comparing how different views of the political arrangement of England led to the modern world we know today in our arrangement of society, our organization of our politics. Now, it's not that these ideas are necessarily literary, but the political perspectives and the political writings set the stage for questions about reason, about the individual, and about liberty that are fundamental and formative for the state of not just the politics, but also for culture, for the novel, and for the kinds of writing that emerged as modern English and later British society took shape. It's not at all impossible for us to understand how different and very radically different views of what the state should look like, of what government looks like, how emerged from the turbulent events of the 17th century. Now, look here down below at two images from the regicide, the crucial event of the 17th century England, the beheading, the execution of King Charles I on January 30th, 1649. This event, which shook England to the core, opened all kinds of questions about what kind of country, what kind of civilization, and what kind of rule would take root in England. Some, like Milton, sought to rationalize the regicide, to draw on reason, a rationale for the lawful, as he said, Milton did, execution of the king, while opponents stridently sought to preserve the status quo and argue strenuously for the rational grounds for absolute monarchy. We'll talk a little bit about how England took the unique role of a constitutional monarchy that eventually emerged, primarily after the 1688 Glorious Revolution, the Bloodless Revolution. But these events that you can see, the mob in front of the Whitehall Banquet House, which to this day, as you can also see here, is the only remaining vestige of the Whitehall Palace, are not completely unfamiliar to us. I invite you to think about how strife between religious groups, how religious conflict could erupt into political conflict, debate, and political violence that completely opened the floodgates of what the country was all about, how a society would function. Different sets of truths, different sets of fundamental ideas. These ideas are completely familiar to us as well. The regicide was the culmination of what was, in a sense, a tempestuous period, a tinderbox of competing identities, competing views on reason, on law, and on government that were hashed out over the course of the 17th century. This era of disruption, of violence, of unrest, opened up the space for radically new ideas and different ideas that are essential for us to understand, both as citizens of the world that is still shaped by these thinkers, and as people who may very well be entering into our own era of radically competing visions of what government, of what rule looks like, and how our societies function. Hello and welcome